Okay, I'm ready. Have you ever visited Bear Canyon? It's a popular recreational gem just 8 miles southeast of town. Seeped in 30% more moisture than Bozeman, its history and folklore are as rich and variable as the vegetation and wildlife. There's even an old ski hill. After college, when I moved to Montana in the mid-'80s, I had the quintessential dream of living in a mountain cabin beside a creek. Following a decade in the valley, a loathsome divorce thrust me forward and into exactly what I needed to heal my soul. Shortly after I moved in, a car driving by slowed to a stop. The elderly woman in the passenger seat, Katie, grew up here. Her daughter, Betty, who's with us tonight, began sharing stories, creating a living link to the past and a lasting friendship going forward. Though in the beginning there was a spent feel to the place, like all its essence blew downwind and out into the valley miles away, some tender loving care, gracious help from friends, and my dogs, Geddes and Yoda, resuscitated the cabin back to life. Replacing the carpet took care of the strong mice odor, mind you, mixed with the smell of burnt wood. 900 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a vase full of flowers, and a warm fire, and voila, I was beyond thrilled. The beautifully carved front door had a sepia-tone lace curtain. The glass pane was known to always rattle. The knob was noticeably slick, like it had been turned by the grease and toil from hands of yesteryears, 2 of which belonged to Bessie Lawrence. In 1894, when she was 14, Bessie's family traveled on a train from Kansas and settled near the mouth of the canyon. At 19, she married Orlando. Eventually, they built their own place, had 5 kids, started logging, and being ever resourceful, opened a boarding house as well. Timber was delivered by wagon, horse, and this 8.5-mile wood flume. While Bessie hosted visitors, can you believe one of her sons hitched a 3-mile ride on a floating log down to the Lamont schoolhouse? After 75 years in Bear Canyon, Bessie recalled quote, once when Orlando was logging, a skittish old homesteader came walking over the fence, pointing his gun ahead of him, and he says, "I'm looking for an old woodchuck and her young ones." I knew he meant me. My gun stood by the door, and I raised it, and I said, "I'm going to kill you if you take another step, so you better get out." And he did, end quote. In 1973, a neighbor found Bessie lying still under one of her hand-sewn quilts, gone to rest at 91 years young. The more I learned about her and what a force she was, I fancied maybe I, too, despite being a city girl from Cleveland, could live on my own in the mountains. I cleaned up the yard, built a boardwalk, and lined its edges in perennial flowers. As I re-chinked and stained the logs, I knew she was keeping a watchful eye on me. I wasn't so alone. On my daily hikes, the changing of the seasons dressed the trail in beautiful botanical attire. In spring, yellow glacier lilies and pure white trillium flowers. The columbine, thimbleberry blossoms, and blue penstemon emerged in summer. By fall, the red raspberry-like fruit appeared, and the trail hardened under the nightly frosts. I cherished every wildlife visit, recognizing some of the creatures. I considered myself their neighbor. One magical morning, I looked out the window and saw a moose and her gangly calf, all while I was still lying cozy in bed. I never tired of hearing the great horned owls calling for their mates, and the frequent visits from black bears certainly kept me on my toes. Winter brought blankets of snow and a silence and stillness unlike any I had ever known. I'd clip my 3-pin boots in my cross-country skis and climb up New World Gulch quite a ways past the second footbridge, and then I'd descend, usually cruising way too fast. I imagine myself to be like Henry David Thoreau in Walden Pond, intently observing the minute details of the forest floor, monitoring the creek rising with the snowmelt and then thinning in the hot summer days, then come fall, freezing into willy-nilly designs. Back when I moved into Bear Canyon, so brokenhearted, I wondered if sorrow was a soluble thing, something the rain could wash away and it'd quietly disappear. How I longed to be adaptable to the coming and going of life's seasons. With time, the grief from my divorce did loosen, no longer holding me in a chokehold. Finally, I could breathe deeply. And history often repeats itself. I built an addition, and the old place became a guest home again, once again known as Bessie's Cabin. While exploring miles upon miles of trails, I sensed how reliable the mountains were, just like a best friend. I acquired a deep sense of belonging, especially in Bear Canyon. I could rely on myself. I'd made it, and I'd found my way forward. Now for the bad news. To protect Bessie's innocence, I'm not going to tell you any bootlegging stories tonight. But please take a moment to reflect upon your own Montana mountain story, this place where we're embraced by the canyons and the hills that surround us. And because of this beautiful place, some of our dreams do come true.